that time of year again, early in the season, where we need to have a little chat about what is in my golf bag for this year. Getting lots and lots of comments from guys asking me what am I going to be using for this year. So let's head into the studio and have a little look in my golf bag. Don't forget, if you are new to the channel and you like what you're seeing, hit that subscribe button. Let's go and look in this golf bag. We're going to start with a 58 degree wedge to kick us off. Now I have Vokey SM8 wedges. I've got 58 degree, 10 degrees of bounce in an S grind. Now I've had this type of wedge in the bag and I've kind of jumped between 58 and a 60. In times gone by I've used 3 wedges in the bag, but this year I'm going with 2 wedges in the bag. Now I've gone for the raw finish, because I want to get a little bit of a sort of a duller finish when I'm playing, especially if you're playing in the sunshine a little bit, you're going to get those reflective shots coming up. So going for that slightly raw finish is certainly something I wanted to put in for this year. Titleist have nicely put in the sort of DH on this particular one. I've got a little bit of stamping that's gone into there. Now moving into the shafts, we've got the Project X 5.5. Now you'll see in the irons that I've got that I've actually got a 6.0. So I've got a slightly stiffer in the irons, but slightly softer in the wedges. Now the reason for this is I like to get a little bit more sort of feel off the face. When I get a little bit too rigid in the shafts, I can get a bit harder feel off the face, and I wanted to get a like slightly softer feel. So that's kind of going into that. I'm not playing fuller shots with these wedges as well, so I don't need it quite as stiff. If we then go into the grip, I've got multi-compound red and black grips, 1 layer of extra tape that goes underneath, standard length, but on this particular model I've gone 3 degrees flat than what you would get from the standard. This is going to be slightly different to the rest of my set, and the reason for that is because when you play slightly softer shots, you'll tend to sort of lay the handle down a little bit more than what you will do with fuller shots. Fuller shots, you'll tend to stand the handle up. So with this in mind, I don't want the toe of the club to sit up, because if I get this, I will have a tendency to miss the shot left. So laying the lie of the club down will help keep that face pointing more at the target. 54 degrees of loft in a 12 degree bounce and in the D grind. Now this is the SM8, very similar to what I've got in my 58 degrees, but this is kind of like my sandwich stroke gap wedge. Now this has changed slightly for me from last year. I've gone from a slightly different sole grind on this particular one. Now I've always been kind of more of a higher bounce, full sole, but when Titleist brought out this particular model last year, I jumped straight into it because it had that nice bit of bounce on it, but it also had that little bit of relief around the back edge of the sole, which enabled me to be able to sort of maneuver the head a little bit when I'm playing those delicate shots around the greens. In the shaft, I've gone exactly the same as what I've got in my 58. I've got the Project X 5.5 rifle shaft, and the grip, again, multi-compound red and black with 1 extra layer of tape. One thing that some of you may have noticed is that I've got the grips on the wrong way round. Now there's no particular reason why that happened, it's just that that's what they got sent to me as. I don't really know why you would change that around, but from what Lester's said...
From what I gather, from what I've been told from proper club fitters who are on tour, it's literally just an advertising tool. If you have the grip round the wrong way round, when the player finishes his swing, you can actually see the shaft label, and you can sort of see the label on the grip to tell you what grip they're actually using.
So for me personally, it doesn't bother me too much whether the sort of label is at the front or it's there around the back. This particular model is actually a full round grip, so it doesn't really affect it. Sometimes you get the ridges down the back of the grips, which if you then turn it around, your then thumbs are sat on top of that ridge, which can be a little bit uncomfortable. But for me, it doesn't really bother me too much which way I've got it on, to be honest.
Ooh.
We've actually still got the wrappers on some of these, to be fair. Some of them have come out okay, and I've been hitting a few in the studio, but we have new irons in the bag. So I have gone for this year a slight change. I have actually gone from the Titleist 620 MB, and I've now put in the bag the Cobra King Tour Mim irons. Now we did a review on these irons a little while ago. Myself, Lester and Lee went out and tested these irons, and I gotta say, I just fell in love with them when we did the review on them. I just thought that the forgiveness, the feel off the face, everything that kind of the whole package with it, it just felt right to me when we were testing them. So I have decided that I wanted to put these in the bag for this year. Now, I have got, spec-wise, I've got pitching wedge through to the 4-iron in the set. I've gone same shafts as what I've always had. I didn't want to mess about with shafts. I've gone for Project X 6.0 rifle shafts, which I have had these in the bag now for a number of years. I've got the same grip as what I've got in my wedges, so I've got the Golf Pride multi-compound red and black, and I've got one extra layer of tape underneath in a standard length. Now I've got another video coming out which is talking about me speccing these clubs when they've arrived, so you can have a little chance to have a little look at that. But for me this year I'm quite excited to see how these perform. Now slightly stronger in the lofts from my last year's models to now this year's models. We've got 2 degrees flat in the lie angle of these, but I should be able to push the ball a little bit higher up into the air. What I was finding last year with the MB is those off-centered strikes, I just wasn't getting them to the target. So I just feel that now I just want to go for something with a little bit more help. I've used Cobra Irons many times over the years, and I think that Cobra have absolutely nailed it for this year with these particular irons. So I'm super excited to get these onto the golf course. Now this is going to be, I'm not sure how this is going to work out throughout this year, but we have got the 7-wood. So I've got the TSI2 21 degree set in A1 setting. It's a 7-wood. I didn't think I'd ever go to a 7-wood, but with more and more testing that I've done, and I've done a video on this where I've talked about hybrid compared to my 5-wood and how I had the struggles with the hybrid, and that's why I've put the 7-wood in the bag to try and get that testing. Now I've got in this, I've got a Tsi 65 gram S flex, so stiff flex in this. It's the standard length, and again I've gone for the same grip of what I've got right the way through the bag, which is the multi-compound black and red and one extra layer of tape underneath. So really looking forward to getting this one out, playing with it from my first experiences with it. Really love it on the golf course. Fractionally higher than probably what I'm used to seeing, but ultimately it produces the flight, the height, everything that I need to get when I want to get that ball out there and stop it on the greens a bit quicker. However, I've also got in the bag, and I'm not saying that this one's going to stay in the bag at all at the moment, it's actually the G4254 Iron. Now, Ping kindly sent me these clubs to review, and I've got to say the feedback and the feel of this particular iron and the yardage that I was getting out of it, it's going basically the same yardage as what I'm getting with my 7-wood, but it's coming out obviously at a much flatter flight than what I would get out of this 7-wood. So I've kind of put it in the bag, but it's not in the bag. It's kind of there as something that I might look to pull out maybe if I'm heading over to a links course. Now this one might last, I'm not sure what it's going to be doing as we move through the year, but we will see. It's got an orange dot, so it's slightly flatter than standard. It's got the Project X LZ shaft, so LZ shaft, 120 grams, so just kicks it up in the air a little bit more than what you'd get out of the standard Project X that I've got in the bag. And I've got it in the 6.0, so it's the same spec as in what I would have in my irons. And then they've just put their Arcos Golf Pride round grip on this one. Again, it's a review product, so this will just stay on there. And yeah, it gives me the opportunity to put that smart grip in there and get some stats off of it as well. Should mention head covers as we go through this, because this one here is a Royal Liverpool Hoylake one. It was something that I really needed to get a head cover for this particular one, and I just found it in the Royal Liverpool shop when I was up there, so it was one of those where I just had to get it. New head cover, Innisbrook Copperhead Golf Course. This has been sent to me by one of our fans of the channel. He's actually become a really good friend of mine now, so we chat quite a lot about editing and all those sorts of things. He's based out in Florida, and he sent me this head cover, and it will be staying on the trusty TaylorMade RBZ 5-wood. Now this one here has been in my golf bag for years and years and years, and to be honest with you, I don't see it coming out anytime soon. It's had a few war wounds over the top of the head. It's a 19 degree 5-wood by TaylorMade. It's actually got a slightly different shaft than what you would get as the standard. Now, again, I didn't know that when I bought it. It's an extra stiff TP version. They did 2 different heads. They had the standard sort of bigger head, which is what this one is, and they also had like a tall version, so a slightly smaller, less lofted version. Well, this is actually the shaft that would go into that slightly smaller version, but it's an extra stiff shaft. It's a Matrix Ozix shaft, which actually works really well for me. It's kind of something that's just blended into my game, and I absolutely love it. Cannot see this thing changing. Slightly different in the grip to what I've got in the rest of my set. This one is actually a multi-compound, but it's actually the +4 version. Now, what the difference is in the normal grips that I have on my clubs, it tapers down into the shaft as you would find in a normal grip. However, this one is slightly different in the fact that it's straight down. And I put them onto my previous set some time ago, and this one kind of just blended in with that. So there's no reason why I would change it now. It's kind of, it feels right to me. So it's not kind of in the same spec as what I've got in everything else, but at the end of the day, if it's not broken, don't change it. Bethpage Black 2019 head cover, and underneath is the TSI2 fairway wood, 15 degrees in loft, and I've got it set as D1 setting. Now D1 setting is standard lie than what you would get in a normal A1 setting, but I've just taken a little bit of loft off of this one. Now the problem I have is that my 5 wood can be quite powerful, so I need to get something out there that just goes that little bit further. So having 0.75 less loft, so actually this is set at 14.25, just gets it out there a little bit more. Now compared to, let's say, last year's model, which I had the TS3 fairway wood in the bag, I feel like this one I can flight it just a little bit better. It just gets it up in the air, spins a fraction more, and I can just get a little bit more out of it. The previous model that I had was a proper power unit, but I didn't feel like I had any control over it. So I just wanted something that just spun a fraction more, feel like I could get a little bit more control. Now, interestingly, when I ordered this club, I blended it into what I had with that 7 wood, which was a Tsi shaft, but I've actually taken that out and I've put the hazardous smoke shaft back in. So this is actually the shaft that I had in my TS3 fairway wood, which is a 6.0 and it's 70 grams. So very, very similar to what I'm getting out of my 5 wood. And we've also got the same grip than what I've got in that 5 wood. So multi-compound, +4 grip, non-tapered. And again, I don't really want to change it because once you find the feel of something that relates to the club that you've got, I just think it's important to kind of stick with it. Tsi Driver, if you haven't seen the review of this one, I'll just pop a little link up the top there. So TSI3 driver for me. Now I've got it in the 9-degree head. I've got the step on the back here. I've put the weights in its neutral position, so that's not going to change for me. But I do have it set in B2 setting. Now I've been in a B2 setting for some time now with other Titleist drivers that I've had, and all that is it just gives me that little bit more upright in the position. The loft of it is exactly the same as the standard, but just takes it a little bit more upright, which enables me to keep that draw coming back for me. A little bit of faceplane tilt, just get it to turn over a little bit more. It's where I get my best numbers from this particular head. Now, shaft for me is the Hazardous Smoke 6.0. Now, I've had this shaft in my drivers for now a few years, and I'll be honest with you, I don't see me wanting to change it. Once you get a feel for something, again, I'm really keen to kind of stick with it. I've got the 60 grams in this particular one, and then the grip, very, very much the same as what I've got on my irons, which is the red and black multi-compound with 1 extra layer of tape underneath. Now, I'm really getting on well with this driver and I can't see myself changing it. I love the look of it, I love the sound of it, it feels great to me, and it's just been performing really, really well moving in from TS into TSI. So I don't see me changing this for this year, definitely not. Putter, last but not least, I have got under here the Newport 2 Scotty Cameron set in the 2020 model. So if you would have seen some time ago, I moved from the 2018 model into the 2020 model, and I'm really, really enjoying using this putter. It's slightly smaller in the profile of the putter itself compared to, let's say, the previous model. The top rail is just that little bit smaller. It kind of brings me back to kind of the Pro Platinum range, which came out probably, I would say, in the early 2000s. Very, very similar in its profile to that, which I did have that putter. So it's brought me back to those kind of memories. I've got it set as a 34 inches. I've got it set 2 degrees flat, and I've actually gone for a custom option in the weighting at the bottom. Now, normally you would get 35 gram weights in the bottom of the putter, but I've gone for the 40 gram weights, and the reason for that is I just want a little bit more weight at the bottom there. I want to be able to feel the head just that little bit more than what I would get from 5 gram weights. And when it comes to putter grits, I get a little bit superstitious. Now, on my previous model of putter, I had the Matador grip on there, which actually came as a standard. Now, by the time I'd finished the 2 years of using that putter, the grip was almost falling apart, but I just didn't want to change it. It was on just a slightly bit skew-if, and it just kind of felt right in my hands. So when I moved into this putter, it came with a Pistolini grip on there, which was quite thin. They were kind of moving back to maybe a little bit more an old school sort of ping putter that used to go on a lot of these answer-shaped putters. Now, I wanted to go back to that same feel as what I had in the previous model, so because I lost a little bit of feel when it came to that thinner grip. So I've got Titleist to send me out the Matador grip that was on the previous model to sort of blend in so I get the same feel. I've actually put it on the same way as well, so I've actually gone a little bit, it's actually slightly open. If I set it up, it just sits a bit open, which actually suits my eye quite nicely. So I think it's really important to make sure that when you find a putter grip that you like, that you kind of stick with it. Just so people are aware, I am using the Bushnell Pro Xe Rangefinder for this year. I've had it in the bag for probably a few months now and enjoy using it. It's a great little bit of product. It's got a little bit smaller than what I've had in the past. I used to have the bigger versions, which were great, but they were quite lumpy to carry around. This particular one, really slim line. It's got the bite on the side as well, and when we're filming and things, it's really cool because Lester and I generally use the same buggy, but we've got these and we just attach them to the side of the buggy. It just makes it so much easier and quicker when you're playing, so having that as an option. So that's the rangefinder that I've got in the golf bag for this year. So golf ball for me this year is going to be a slight change. I'm going to the new Pro V1x Golf Ball. When we did some testing on this one, I was tending to lose a little bit of spin in the new Pro V1. So I just wanted to go to something that's just slightly different for this year, give me a little bit more spin. They've actually feel on this one is less clicky than I've had in the previous model. So I'm going to test out the new Pro V1x. I go with a 0-0 stamping on it, and I also have get up down, hashtag get up down on the side of the golf ball. So last but not least is the glove. I'm going to be using the FootJoy Pure Touch glove for this year. It's pretty much the softest glove that they do, and for me, feel is absolutely everything. So there you go, there's a little what's in the bag for me for 2021. I'd like to hear what's happening in your golf bag this year. Are you making any changes at all to your golf bag? I'd like to hear it in the comments down below. Don't forget, if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up if you like what you're seeing. And as always, stay safe, and we'll catch up with you again soon.